It is. Huh. Okay. So first off, I'm sorry that the audio did not work on Tuesday's, or I'm sorry, Thursday's recording. So I'm gonna cover some of that today as well. But what we're gonna do is I'm gonna try to fill in gaps of understanding just for review, which is not really a bad exercise to do with you guys anyway. And the goal for today was to be at least about this far done, I think, with your hand model to try to get a pretty like basic standard of like anatomy before we get into detail. We'll get into the detail. We will. We'll get into some of that today. But oops, sorry everybody. That is from another lifetime. Hand. Okay. This is somebody else's hand. Apologies. Which actually I could show real briefly. We have a problem in hierarchy. So it'll turn here. First off, like that pivot looks a little high, but um, and I mean I might be kind of splitting hairs here about that, but this and this are in the same level. So when you turn them, they're pivoting from that angle. So if I were to straighten that out, we'll freeze transforms. And this guy too, freeze transforms. This guy should be the child of this guy. So that it's just about the order of the parent-child, right? What you had was these were on the same level. That's why it wasn't working. That actually kind of brings me to open scenes. That's downloads. You should be in my documents. Projects, but scenes, hands. Save. All right. What we're looking at here is the relationship between these pivots here. One, if I were to select any one of them, they should behave sort of independent. Then from the tip or the farthest point out moving in, because that's what's informing each relative position, needs to be child to that one higher and higher. So this is the piece that I want to try to see. What I have seen in terms of boo-boos, we saw one. Each tip was in the same level. I've seen that. I've also seen multiple tips here. Rather than being parented, just grouped as a finger. These undermine the parent-child relationship outcome that I'm trying to have you understand. So if there was a bit to this that was kind of muddy or unclear, now is for sure the time to bring it up so that I could kind of go into more detail. More or less? Okay. So this doesn't help. I have seen some stuff where, I think maybe we like rotate and then let's do a long one here. All right, let's to you. Then to you. Now, let's see if this is happening for anybody. Has anybody seen this happen? It's kind of weird catawonkus thing. Okay. You are telling on yourself. You're not freezing your transforms. So what's happening is that if I look at my attribute editor on any one of these objects, you'll notice I've got 3 here, 21 rotate. I've got 1.1 for this is a weird value, and I've got a weird scale. All of these are not set to 0. So what's happening is it's applying a multiplier of this transform to all of the weird values and it's warping it in all of that way. So what you want to do is make sure you delete history or freeze transforms, select it, freeze transform, select it, freeze transform, select it, freeze transform. Then they should behave a little bit more accurately. That was probably the one that I would say a little less obvious of a problem. Okay. All right. Okay, so those are the common mistakes I've seen. Um, do we is there anyone that is a little fuzzy on the parent-child relationship? I'm looking for eye contact. Good, 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 good. Okay. Maybe if it's just in theory, but application. Yeah. From the child up to the parent. Yep. Um, you could, if you, I think if you do it the other way, what it does is it just places the pivot in a funky place. It still behaves, but it's harder for you to like, I don't understand it. You know, um, here, I'll go top down and then like from here, I'm trying to make an expression. Whereas if I go from here to the base, that's all. That's all. It's a quirk, less than a bug, really. Okay. Fantastic. Okay. Alrighty. Yes, when sculpting. Okay. So what we did here is I kind of kept my armature here, duplicated it, hid the original, right? Um, posed what I want one hand of one hand. I mean, in this case, I have them like this, like I'm looking at them, so that's why they look like that. You can face them the other way if that makes a better situation for you. But like here, let me just rotate that around if that's a little easier. And so now I have like one hand to start, right? I want a, a left hand. You know, I've got a right hand, I want a left hand. So I'll go to mesh, mirror, move my mug out of the way. Make sure that I'm orienting the mirror to the right axis. In this case, I have my hand on the X positive and I want it to exist on the X negative. So that's what I want, X negative. We'll hit apply. And now I've got basically hands as one object. But very astute. I would like one right and one left hand. So for my right hand, I'll select all of the things that would be left. I'll hide it. Pull up my left hand. Highlight all of the ones that would be right. Delete it. Rename it left hand. There was something though that I wanted to kind of, I think, share and make clear with you though, because having two sub-objects means that you will have two sub-tools in ZBrush. You can't use symmetry with that. Now, what you can do and this is probably closer to just a technical understanding I want you to have for when you have this problem, because it will occur, where you have an object or an asset that you're building that has multiple pieces to it. In this case, we have fingernails, maybe, for example. So you can keep them together, Anton, as one object if you want to use the symmetry tool on it. That's going to make it easier and faster for you. But that's kind of the power of the FBX, is that it holds that data. An object will just be one ZBrush, one Z tool, excuse me. That's an OBJ. So in ZBrush, I now have what I have here, what would be considered an OBJ export, or all of those sub objects in Maya exported as an FBX is just one object. If you bring them in separately, you can also in the subtool merge them right here. You can just merge them together. That's also fine. They all amount to the same thing in the end, right? But if I wanted to add something to this, like fingernails, you can do that in ZBrush. Actually, you can put some objects in there and do it yourself that way. But I want to show you this thing about the quirks between objects and OBJs and FBXs. I am going to make some starting points of fingernails here. Uh, Now, first thing I do is I like to actually make a fingernail object um, like kind of oriented like cardinally correct, you know? It's not turned already. I don't put it on the finger and then try to model it. I want this to behave like like a fingernail. So I'm gonna hit 3. And you know what I'll actually do is I'm gonna delete a bunch of these. And just kind of start making a kind of fingernail shaped object here. Hmm. Sure. It's looking a little feminine, which is fine if you've got feminine hands. Um, but everybody's hands are different, and our bodies are beautiful in different ways, and that's okay. Um, okay, I think I can. We could extrude that in a little bit. But what I think I would prefer to let's bridge that. Mhm. You could probably actually be a little bit more efficient with your own ideas, to be honest. I'm just kind of winging it really quick. I don't know. This feels right. Why not? Sure. Um, U to U, bridge, U to U, bridge. I'll put a cap, but then I'll just do a little cut, multi-tool cut from U to U. Okay. And I don't know. Just make that feel a little bit more fingernaily. Cool. Um, Once this part's done, then I start to like shape them and scale them. Let's do the um, I'm gonna move you to about there. I'm gonna move that over to about there. Little bit of that and a little bit of that. Mhm, 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 mhm. Now, some of you, do I have to have these objects be separate? No, you totally don't. You can actually sculpt the fingernail in ZBrush if you feel a little bit more confident with that. I find though that I get better results if I have them separate. Like, it's so weird to think about how your body is different materials. But like the fleshy bit is really more informed by the cuticle and how it grows, right? Your cuticle of your finger is growing kind of around the nail, which makes it easier to sculpt. My goodness, this is gross sounding, but it's kind of like the same sort of philosophy about, you know, how was the machine made? How does the body like kind of hold itself? So I feel that I get a better effect if I have the nail be a kind of separate piece. Um, and it's okay if it's not like perfect. I think there's actually something kind of better about the body not being perfect. Our bodies are wabi-sabi. That's fine. Um, okay, so I'm gonna make that one, and then I'm gonna do the other one over here, just like pop it up a little bit. If you're really slick, um, You could parent these to the tips and then like maybe center their values and it'll be a little bit more accurate, but this is also fine. I've got pretty long nail beds, so I feel like that's kind of what I'm doing here. My goodness, that's very long. hmm 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 Maybe pull the fingernail. Oh, that's good. hmm 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 Something else I found kind of interesting about this process that I've done a few times is that if I sculpt around nails and then decide that I don't want them anymore, like I just remove the nails object and subtools later, the hands look better. Like it's like all of that accounting to hold the nail there for how the finger looks, it just looks more natural and kind of interesting. Um, I realize how gross this might sound. hmm Okay. And we will bring this down and over here. Um, I know that some of you would have the question, do I have to? You don't. You don't have to. I won't mark you down for a grade if you don't do the fingernails the way I do them, and if you do them your way. Um, but there is something I want you to at least observe if you choose to not, follow along or follow my advice here. Because there will be a time where you'll need to bring in something more complicated to add to your stack of subtools in ZBrush. And that's probably the more important part of all of that. All right, so we're gonna go with D again. I'm gonna bring it down there. Oops, just kidding. To the thumb, to the thumb. Hmm. If they are a little off in size, that's also nothing to be ashamed of because we can do a lot of that editing in ZBrush as well. You can use a transform tool in ZBrush actually, and that is also just fine. All right, so I've got all these guys here. You could group them and call them, nail base just for future you, and that way I duplicate it. I only do that because I have a little bit of an anxiety disorder and I'm worried, what if I want to change the nail later and I don't want to be committed? That's okay. You can do that. You can help yourself out in the future. The chances of me actually doing that though are pretty slim. Like I doubt I'll actually do that. Um, yeah, interesting. Okay. I'll go ahead and nuke that one. Don't need that. I'm not going to go through the process of naming all of these. In fact, I'm just going to mesh, combine, delete history. Um, Almost there though. And I'm actually going to convert that to geometry just so that it just translates well on over to ZBrush. And then I'm going to move that pivot to the center of the world on each axis. That's good. Do it again. I'll call this nails. And you guessed it, I'm going to mirror them. Let's go to mesh. Mirror, X, negative, apply on both hands now. And now I've got nails. I've got nails. Now, this is going to be the weird part where I actually have you do a purposeful export. Can I click off of that now? I'm going to do a purposeful export of our nail. Hey, that's weird. Moved my pivot. That was weird. Fix that again. Zero. Okay. Race transforms. Complete history. We're gonna do this as an OBJ. Export selection. I have a place for all my stuff. Nails. I'll go ahead and do an FBX export also, just to show you why we don't. Export. OBJ. Nails. Okay. Back to the ZBrush. Back to ZBrush. Now, what I want to do is I want to add another subtool to my already existing project because I put in so many hours sculpting it. And then I realized, oh, fuck, I didn't do nails. Or, oh, it would be easier if I just did it this way and your brains aren't perfect, so we went backwards. That's fine. So if you go to import and then you find the OBJ, hands. Oh dear, that doesn't tell me what they are. Huh. I sure wish this told me more details about what types of files I'm dealing with. Let's see, content. Nope, still not. That one. Jesus. OBJ. Oops, cancel. What I want to do, though, problem is that I will import over my already selected subtool. So if we go down to append or duplicate or whatever, we make another subtool here, that's actually okay. Import obj, boop, boop. Yes. Oh, there. Okay, well, I turned some stuff around, I guess. Hmm. Hmm. I bet if I rotate these around exactly 180 degrees, I'll be much closer to what I meant to do. Freaking weird. I wonder if I just changed my silhouette enough. Oh, you know what I did? I turned them around to show you guys, so I stacked them differently. Oh, Renee, you're such a hoot. Well, it did technically work, but I turned my hands around, so that's why they are facing the other way. I wonder. Let's see if I can brute force this. Yeah, why not? No, I don't want to switch to that. Let me go to mask. No mask. Okay. Um, nope. Okay. And then move, unlock, center, lock. I mean, I can kind of brute force this. I guess I will do that. Um, ooh, oh, that's funny. It's really close. Well, the good news is that it really won't harm you much because you didn't go and do that demo again. So that's fine. Back to draw. I want to mask again. Um, Move, unlock that, center the pivot, lock that again. Yeah. I kind of just doing the same exact problem solving I did in Maya. Whatever. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Now, if I were to try to just do the same exact thing where I import instead of the OBJs I do in FBX, it just reloads the whole thing over all my stuff. That's like devastating if you hadn't saved in a while, right? Like FBXs carry a lot more data and they just basically stomp out the previous subtool stack that you had in there. So it's really important to just understand. You want to export out the compressed file to have it be addendumed or added to as an additional subtool to your already existing project. And it's actually a really handy thing to know. Yes? Oh, no? Okay. Okay. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys continue your sculpting because I know that you want to get to it. Um, I am gonna cover how to do some more detail in just a bit, but I'm gonna fix my nails because I flipped them. And I mean, I could power through it, but I think I could be faster about it in Maya. So, I'll give you guys about what 30 minutes, kind of just jam on that, and then we'll pick up. We'll pick up again. Okay. I've decided to go ahead and continue. I've decided to go ahead and continue recording so that you guys can see what I'm doing, even though you guys are kind of on your own. I'm also double checking the audio. It is still going. That's good. Okay. You guys might be curious what I would do. Select you, flip it, use the move. That up there probably, and my import wasn't perfection, so I have to kind of get in here and make it a little bit more perfect. That's okay. I actually think it looks better when they're not perfect. Hmm. Yeah. How would I best go about the webbing between the thumb and the index finger? Like this little area right here? Yeah. So I started to deal with that a little bit, which you can see here. So what I did is looking at my own thumb, kind of like notice the triangle point that it comes to, make like a little point right there, and then start cutting in. Smooth, cut and smooth, cut and smooth, cut and smooth. And then just kind of like respect that part right about there and do the same, but just not quite as far on the other side. If you're ever like unsure, the the theory of like just always stay on the lowest subdivision, right? And like maybe reduce the Z intensity of whatever you're using. Because like if this is a little too high, that gets a little wily, right? So just kind of tone it down a little bit and then smooth and then smooth. Mm, yeah. So that I think that that's probably preferred is to just kind of go in and subtractive and cut. Now, there's also inflate, right? You know what inflate does, but negative inflate does the opposite. So you can maybe get like a good like kind of effect of pinching right in there, or like low intensity kind of that would intensify that. I don't need to go quite that hard. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, with the knuckles in here, this is actually kind of interesting because like the front of your palm, actually, maybe I can do this while I'm looking at you guys. The front of the palm is a little bit higher than the back of the knuckle. So you kind of want this piece right here to be pretty far to the front of the hand. So um, just a little trick is that you do a little bit more cutting in to right in here. And what I did was I just like go whoosh, just like all the way down and then smooth. Oops, the wrong button. And then smooth it out. You're gonna get that like kind of nice tendon vibe there. Yeah, a little bony action. I like to do that and then add the knuckle. Don't just go into add in the knuckle. It starts to look weirdly, I don't know, like bubbled on top of it, right? Um, I think I feel like I found when doing a lot of anatomy, because it's really strange though, because we're all like one big piece, right? So we're all extruded off of it's ourself in a way. A lot of this is cutting out cavity and then adding whatever is back and then smoothing. And then like that's a lot of my anatomy growth and building. Like I gotta kind of cut out the tendon and then add the knuckle. I gotta cut out the eye socket and then add the eyeball and then smooth that part over and it's an eyelid. Like it's just sort of like constructing a person. Yeah, yeah. I actually think I'm going to get a better result if I really push the nail kind of in and then kind of cut it away. So I'm finding that like my other nails look a little too on top of it when this looks more pushed in. And I'm realizing that that's the effect that I want as I go. I think that's a common mistake. It's like I'm actually going to even get a little bit more aggressive with it. Just really push that in. Come back to clay, build up probably. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's getting a better, I think, effect. So I'll show you guys my mistake I learned while thinking this out. Okay. 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 I really like how this nail turned out compared to the others, even though I'm still kind of working out the detail. But the reason is that I pushed the nail a lot further in on the flesh and then built the skin around it. I didn't do that over here, and it looks a little weird, at least to me. It's just, well, I mean, weird's not the right word because there are some people who have nail beds that like sit a little higher up. I think my grandpa used to have nails that look like that, so I don't want to call it weird, but I'm just noticing a very different like silhouette by how far in you maybe push or don't push that nail bed, and it gives a very different feeling hand almost altogether. Nails are a real personality trait of your hand, I think. So, I'm just noticing that this is a little closer to my nail beds, if you don't count the acrylic manicure that I put on top of it. But, you know, I don't know, maybe what this is really kind of showcasing is a little bit more sort of gender fluidity, one feeling a little bit more masculine and the other feeling a little bit more feminine. And like hands certainly don't need to be fully one or the other. They can be like somewhere in the middle too, right? So, anywho, anyway, I just kind of wanted to point out that like what I'm realizing is with the placement of these nails, I'm getting a very different effect. So I'm gonna like push it in, get a little bit more of a feminine hand feel. Is anybody playing around with the idea of making a little bit more of a quote unquote ideal hand where you're making the nail beds you like to see, or anybody doing any of that? Just still just trying to make it look like a hand. I appreciate that because the hand part is actually very difficult. You know what? On that note, I'm gonna come around and see if I can help y'all with getting it to hand feeling, okay? Let me pause this. Okay. I'm gonna fix that pinky. Okay. And we will do the clay buildup there. Okay, I want to be able to get to a little bit of some detail sculpt at some point. Um, I think we're doing pretty well though. Pretty well. All right, it's feeling pretty good. Let's do the little guy and the pinky there. Mm, okay. Um, I will try to kind of briefly cover some common mistakes. Some common mistakes I actually have on my own meshes, and then some that I'm seeing. So just for the recording's purpose. Um, First common mistake I'm seeing is the relationship of scale for our fingies. You are going to want to make sure that like you see that the your pinky finger, like the relationship of this curve right here, right? Like this, your index and your ring finger are often similar in size. For some people, one is larger than the other, but I will often start the same. In my case, I think I've got it where my ring finger is actually larger than my index in this case. The middle finger should be the longest and the pinky should be the smallest. So we're looking for this arch right there. If they're all the same, that's not correct. And it's kind of an interesting arch too. Let me see if I can stop the screen share really quick and no, stop the screen share. So I'm up here kind of. This thing doesn't do a great job of following me. We're over here? Over here? No? Over here? Ugh, okay. Better. Um, it should be an arch that looks like that, not that, right, of hand. Like you want to see your index finger here and it kind of splay out this like peak and then slower fall off. That's kind of what we're looking for. Um, mhm. Do do do. Next up, next common boo-boo we see a lot. The hand, the palm actually kind of holding a little bit of hollowness here. I think I've seen a few where it's looking a little bit more puffy in the middle, and that is kind of hurting the overall sort of structure. Now, granted, that was a little aggressive, but um, it's probably closer to something like this, like a little bit more of an even filling. Some hands are a little thicker than others, so that does make sense. I have very skinny hands, and so this might be a little aggressive for me. In your lowest subdivision, you can do a lot of power with the move tool. Um, I think mine might be even be a little too aggressive now that I see it, but I still want that kind of like cup as if a puddle of water could be held in my hand. I'm also noticing that it's, maybe not kind of holding true up here. That should be a little bit more like that. Um, and yeah. And I mean we talked about this little fleshy bit, but you guys are doing that pretty well. And I think kind of well on our way here. I'll admit this is it's a little much. There we go. Should be a little smoother transition. I do have skinny wrists, but not quite that skinny. This is just a little bit of an in debt for me. What's that? Maybe the thumb? No, I think like this part wants to come out and that part wants to go back in, and it's a little bit more structured like that for my thumb. Mm, yeah. Okay. Another thing. The shape of the tips of the fingers. They shouldn't look quite like balloons. I think we all have different shapes of fingies. Um, Mine kind of sort of narrow at the top. So I think here I would have a little bit of a tip like that. Um, yeah, I don't want to lose that much structure though. So let's bring it back up. And I want the tip to be a little bit more pointed. That's closer to, I think, a tip shape of your tips. hmm 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 Okay. Once you get the sort of base structure feeling really good, then we can start going up in detail. And from here, we can, I mean, at this level for me, I mean, I'm still only about 90, I'm not quite 100,000 um, points in this case, but I can get some nice little like sort of wrinkles and impressions of things. And I want there to be the beginnings of knuckles here, beginnings of knuckles, gentle, gentle. And like, it's really weird to think about how your hands don't have very many muscles. I think like they don't have any muscles, actually. I think this is true. I should know more about the anatomy of a hand if I'm going to talk about it with authority. Muscles in hands. Um, yeah, like your fingers don't. Your palm does though, but your fingers do not have muscles. It is all bone. That is so weird to think about, that you don't have muscles in your fingers. Yeah, sure, because you don't have the muscle to insulate it quite as much. Yeah. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll give it some structure. If you want it to feel bony, give it a little bit of tendon guidance, and you're gonna get some like kind of interesting effects. Um, yeah, like if The it's really just kind of more of like a tendony feeling if you want your fingers to have like a real tendony feeling. Um, is that you're not going to see much of it like here, but I still like to kind of draw them in, and it helps me see about how much actual flesh I might fill in to kind of fill it out. Yeah. And I'm going really gentle. Like I'm gently adding, gently. Hmm. Little knuckle, little, sure, sure. But little knuckle there. I could probably work a little bit more on that, but okay. Okay. All right. It's coming along. It's coming along. Um, I think also the palm of my hand to me, I feel like it has like a little bit of a pillowing right about here. It's a little bit different than the rest of the back of my hand. So I'm going to just gonna give it a little gentle there, and a little, yeah, just a little bit. Okay. And once you're feeling like some of this detail's feeling good, I actually think I can add like the lifelines. You saw me kind of or earlier levels of this just kind of starting to imply them here. But F, why not? Like let's man, I got one that starts here and then goes to about there for me. So I got kind of like a this sort of line happening. Um, yeah, that's kind of cool. Okay. And then I got one right about here to the middle, right here to my middle, right there. Maybe not quite that far. Yeah, it's more like that for me. Hmm. I'm liking how that's turning out. And I got a smaller one over here, so I'm gonna make my brush a little smaller. Starts off at about the same and ends a little bit more middle, like this. Yeah, that's feeling pretty good. I think I could take this a step further and sort of add a little bit of these cuts into my knuckles where my fingers bend. Now, you might be tempted to just go, done. I totally get that. But I actually think for me, I've got two little ones, one above and one each, rather like that than I do right there. I don't have just like one wrinkle. I have like two wrinkles that make like a little eye, like when you can really see it when you bend towards your hand. So it's looking a little bit more like that. So, wabi sabi. Sorry if they're not perfect. All right. Zoom out a little bit. How's that feel? Oh, so it looks like a hand. It's looking like a hand. Okay. Then we go higher. Then we go higher. Notice how we kind of build up a little bit more detail. At this level, we can really start adding like wrinkle lines. And I mean, this is really just about how much fun you want to have with this. Man, I've got like a gross little skin flap right there. I could just really get gnarly with if I want to. That's fun. You can get into the cuticle here where it kind of has its own little layer as you build above it. And oh man, I'm probably gonna have to do an even another layer of detail here for sure. Wrinkles. Hmm. And then some of my favorites, um, veins. Yeah. There's like I have a little H on my hand. Yeah, yeah. Ugh, this guy right here. Oh yeah, we've got some wrinkles here. Hmm. And I've got, ugh, maybe the clay one will be better for this one. No, I think it's, do I have clay tubes? Is there clay tubes? Clay tubes. Oh, I've got like a gnarly right there. Right there. And I didn't really get very tendony on my wrist, so I'm gonna bring it back and I'm gonna like look at how I've got these tendons right there. Ooh, right there. Ooh, ah. Okay, but that's what I want. So I'm gonna do that weird thing I tell you guys about how like so much anatomy is really like this, where we just kind of cut in a little bit, right? It's already looking better. So that I can add back to it. Ugh. Oh, it looks like a wrist. Blah. Okay. Don't worry though, if you went to a high detail, it preserves those details. Like I still have my like veins. They're still there. It's okay. Yeah. Ooh, gross. All right. So by the time we get back on Thursday, try to have your detail sculpt also complete. Have your detail work. And if you're feeling like I'm in a high subdivision, but my fingers like admittedly, that pinky is looking a little funky. Don't worry. Come back down to the lower subdivision. And I mean, I'm telling you, that move tool really can do a lot for you. Preserves all that detail work that we did before. It doesn't erase it. That's okay. So that's kind of why you want to make sure that when you're starting, ooh, don't accidentally delete it. When you work on a low subdivision, you're working on a low enough one that it can really help you keep it simple early on, right? Because it's getting this level feeling strong that will inform the higher subdivisions. We should not be adding a lot of volume at this level. Gross. Didn't mean to do that. Like, we should not be adding volume here. Um, it's tempting. That's not what we want though. Wrist nubbin. Don't forget wrist nubbin. Wrist nubbin, very important. Wrist nubbin. It's called a scale. Man, I need to ask. I need to ask it, the internets again. Mm-hmm. Take it as far as you can, guys. Take it as far as you can. It's okay if it's not perfect. This is a study. We're aiming for anatomical correctness, but our hands are wabi-sabi. It's okay if your fingers don't look like my fingers. Um, and I've been having a great time watching you guys look at your hands, like you're in a dream. Where am I right now? All right. I probably won't take this much further myself, maybe a little bit, but yeah, I'm noticing that the curve of my finger, no, that's looking okay. It's looking okay. I'm not thrilled with my fingertips, but I'm not very upset at those hands. They could use some more work, but I have to abandon it. I have to abandon it too. So, okay. For your in-class exercise today, I'm gonna set that up right now. What I'd like for you to do is give me a screeny shot of your like the proudest part of your hand. Um, it doesn't have to be the whole hand if you're not feeling comfortable showing all of it, but I would like to see what you're most proud of. If it's maybe this particular knuckle right here. I'd love to see it. If you're happy with your fingernail where it's going, or if you're like, I really love the vein I made here, whatever. I just want to see what you are most proud of. Okay. And today, oh my gosh, it's big Saturday. Huh? Anton, I had it coming, bud. Okay. Whew. Due today at 2:40. Till available till 3 o'clock. Save. For your assignment submission, I actually think that I have a little bit more to it for your assignment. So let me make sure I cover all of that too. We've got 40 minutes. But the sculpture. I got that due before class on Thursday. Right. Okay. So, haha, BPR front, side, back views. Yes. Okay. What I want for you guys to do is to also render quick BPR renders out of ZBrush. This is like very easy at first, right? Because I'm going to show you how to do the quick and easy, right? I've got a front view. Pretty straightforward, right? Maybe this is your front view. It's fine. It's fine either way, whatever you decide. Um, BBR is the render. That's fine. I think choosing a material type that works best for you is ideal. I'm going to use the skin shade. I'm not painting them or anything. I'm just doing a white sort of render. What you can do then is head up to document. No, just kidding. And export. There we go. JPEG. We will call this front. And then send it somewhere that you will find it again. I'm going to do hands. I'm going to call this front underscore BPR. Now, that's pretty good. You can crop it at this point. You can even adjust the background for this render if you'd like to. I do recommend that. But once you're ready, go ahead and click save. To change the background, I believe you can select the various colors. Like, let's say I'm going to do a mid gray on each one, about there. Go to document and click, ooh, I think it's back. Yeah, back. You can change the background color. Um, For the color, just select any color and that will be the color of your hands. Now, there's kind of an added layer to this though. I intend to show this to you, but I'm not going to make you do this for this assignment. You will do it for one of your props though, that you sculpt for your final. And that is a multi-pass render. Multi-pass rendering is where you render various layers of a render that will allow you to do either color correction or various like mask type edits in something like ZBrush, or not ZBrush, in Photoshop. So to do this, what you can do is you can head up to render. And then what I am looking for is render pass BPR. And we have a series of different map types here. So if you select one, is it over here in the render? We can turn on which ones we plan to use. External render, properties. Oh, I think I have to do it in the little channels over here. I want to do an ambient occlusion, so we're going to turn this on. Nope. Are you not going to let me turn it on? Where do I turn this on? Pull off modifiers. Render properties. Ha, subsurface scattering and ambient occlusion. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Have fun. Render pass. So I don't need a floor. Okay. Then we're gonna render again. Took a little longer. Under render though, I have those maps now. From here, you can, I believe, export these maps. Where do I remember how to do that? Use existing maps, process, environment, document. Wow, I'm drawing a blank on how to do it. Oh, that's okay, because I don't have to remember everything all the time. Export, multi-pass, renders, ZBrush. Thank you. Oh, there's a plugin. That's nice. Documents, export, alpha, grab doc, BPR passes, perform the best render, render palette, BPR pass, access to import. Like, yeah, that's what I wanted. Export multi-pass, render maps from ZBrush. I think AI is ruining everything. Man, I've done this before. Render that. Out here. Export. I'll send it to hands again. Call it front. Yes. And no, it just does that one. Just load from project rendered. Oh, okay. That's why that was not okay. When you're in the render stage, you're right here. Click the icon, and that's what exports that section. Holy jeez. No wonder. All right, so what I'll do here now instead is I've got a front multi-pass. All right, we'll call that composite. That's all of them basically. Yes. And go back to render, export, BPR render, hands, da, 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 da. Sure. Mm-hmm. Okay. Render again. I want the depth. Depth is fun. You can make some nice sort of subsurface scattering effects in Photoshop if you want to with the depth map. Hands. Mhm. Shadow. If you'd like to add color to your shadow, I don't know, maybe. Render. Ambient occlusion. Da-da. Render. Mask for the perfect precision selection. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Subsurface scattering. Do for hands. There we go. Okay. Now, what do we do with these types of maps and stuffs? Good question. Well, it would probably be a whole demo that I'm not going to go into like intense detail about over here. But what I do want to do is I want to show you like what they all look like a little bit more up close in Photoshop. Um, and I think what I will do is I will offer extra credit to anybody who takes these maps into Photoshop to composite a preferred render to submit rather than just give me the BPR render. Render the BPR render, save it out of ZBrush, you got the grade. But grabbing that multipass, bringing them all up in here, like so, you specifically, bringing all these puppies in. Mm-hmm. And using these layers as a way to try to create um, a final render of your hands as display, I will give you extra credit for it. How do you do that? I actually just want you to play with it first. There are lots of ways, to be fair. So you could probably even find some pretty quick tutorials about like cool ways of using these maps. But essentially, a BPR render composite of all of them are just these layers on top of them using various filters that create it. So when you have them, you can use this for color grading. You can use it for like intensifying shadow or not. Block like I don't know, blocking out backgrounds for a different background. Like that's the point of having a composite stack like this. So I'm not going to require that you do it for your submission of this assignment, but I do want you to play with them. I just want you to play and I want you to explore. I also know how much time you don't have, so I'm not requiring it. Cool? Okay. Alrighty. Cool, cool, cool. Okay, so I want to see your ZBrush file, the ZPR file, not the ZTool, and not the ZBrush, ZBR. I need CPR. And a BPR render of a front, side, back, and three-quarter view. All. Yay. All right. That is due before class on Thursday. Got it? Okay. You could do it. Most of you could do it like all right now. You just blender that out really quick and submit it, you'd be fine. But I know you guys, you'll work on it until your heart bleeds and then you'll submit 5 minutes before it was due.